Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to do something really cool. We are undergoing a massive perspective shift. We're zooming way out from the day-to-day transactions of our personal lives to look at the entire economic machine from about 30,000 feet up. We are diving into the absolutely fascinating world of macroeconomics. So if you've ever wondered how terms like national income or trade cycles actually connect to form the larger reality that we all live in, well, you are in exactly the right place. Here is our map for today. First, the big picture. Second, measuring national income. Third, saving and investment. Fourth, business fluctuations. And fifth, growth versus development.
Let's jump right into part one, the big picture.
To truly grasp macroeconomics, we kind of have to look at its origins. Back in 1933, a brilliant thinker named Sir Ragnar Frisch coined two distinct terms to help us categorize how we study the economy: microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now, micro comes from the Greek word mikros, meaning small. That's the study of individual variables, right? A single household, a specific worker, or just one firm. But macroeconomics, which comes from makros, meaning large, zooms all the way out. It looks at the total aggregates covering the entire economy. We're talking about things like total employment, national income, national output, total investment, aggregate supply, aggregate demand, and the general price level. The economist Kenneth Boulding actually hit the nail on the head here, perfectly capturing this shift in perspective. He states that macroeconomics deals not with individual quantities as such, but with the aggregates of these quantities. It deals not with the individual incomes, but with the national income, not with individual prices, but with the general price level, and not with individual output, but with the national output. This rule of aggregates, that is absolutely crucial. It's the foundational lens you need to wear for the rest of this explainer. Moving right along to section 2. Measuring national income. Think of the economy like a patient in a hospital. If we want to check on its health, our very first vital sign to measure is the national income. This reveals the total economic performance of a nation. It's basically referred to as the total income of a country. In a strict economic sense, national income is the aggregate monetary value of all final goods and services produced in an economy during a single year. Next up, Section 3, Saving and Investment. We all know what saving feels like on a personal level, for sure. But on a macro level, it is a massive economic force. Saving is simply that part of the national income which is not spent currently on consumption. It's wealth intentionally set aside to satisfy future needs. The absolutely key phrase here is foregoing current consumption. For a nation to save, it literally has to collectively decide not to consume everything it produces right in this exact moment. And here is exactly why that saving is so important. Because saving just sits idle until it's transformed into investment. Investment refers to the creation of capital assets through the mobilization of savings. We're talking about things like heavy machinery and factory equipment. But those physical assets, they can only be created by mobilizing the savings we just talked about. So it's basically a two-step pipeline of economic progress. Step 1, an economy must first have the discipline to forego current consumption to generate savings. Then, step 2, it has to efficiently mobilize those savings to fund investment in capital assets. Without the first step, the second step is completely impossible. You simply cannot build the factories of tomorrow if you consume all of your resources today. This dynamic is the actual pulse of long-term economic momentum. Which leads us to Section 4, Business Fluctuations. Now, as you've probably noticed in real life, the economy doesn't just shoot straight up in a smooth, perfect line. We experience fluctuations in business, which are formally known as trade cycles. These represent the continuous ups and downs in overall economic activities, driven by a whole variety of economic pressures. We can easily understand the extremes of these fluctuations by looking at two opposing forces. On one end, we have inflation. And in macroeconomic terms, this isn't just one or two items getting a bit more expensive. It is a continuous rise in the general price level across the entire board. On the totally opposite extreme, we have a depression. This is a continuous fall in overall prices, accompanied by a lowering down of economic activity in general. Macroeconomics actually spends a tremendous amount of time trying to understand and manage these two chaotic extremes, just trying to keep the trade cycle as stable as possible. And finally, Section 5, Growth versus Development.
So, if a nation is successfully managing its trade cycles and it's saving and investing, where is it ultimately trying to go? It's incredibly common to hear politicians talk about economic growth, right? But growth actually has a very narrow quantitative dimension. It's simply an increase in the real national income of the country over a long period of time. You can actually have economic growth without truly improving the lives of the citizens. Economic development, on the other hand, is a much wider concept with a qualitative dimension. It implies economic growth plus progressive changes in certain really important variables that determine the actual well-being of the people. Things like advances in education and health. Essentially, growth is just the numbers going up. Development is society actually moving forward. Before we wrap this explainer up, let's run through a quick list from our source text and test ourselves based on what we've just covered. Which of these items belong to the micro level and which belong to the macro level? Remember our rule of aggregates? Global poverty. Well, that's a massive aggregate, definitely macro. The price of a commodity. That's a single item, so that's micro. The balance of payments and national income. Both of those cover the entire economy, so they are macro. The profits of a single firm. That's micro. Seeing the world through this lens allows you to instantly categorize the economic forces at play all around you. So the next time you're scrolling through the news or listening to the leaders in your own country, ask yourself this. Are the macroeconomic forces shaping your world aimed simply at quantitative economic growth? Or are the savings, the investments, and the policies actually driving true qualitative economic development? It's a totally vital distinction, and now you have the macroeconomic tools to spot the difference. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning the big picture.